Right, so today I'm going to be talking about social media. Just to clarify what I'm going to be covering or not covering today, I'm not going to go through what social media platforms you should be using or how to use them in depth. The plan for today, we've got literally 10 minutes just to go through some ideas for how you can use social media to reach out to larger clients and also just to make it more effective. Um, as today, the main target for all of us is the bigger, the larger clients. Um, Before I go through that, just a bit of a warning. There are tons of different ways that you can use social media, and there's tons of platforms from TikTok, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and there's so many different ways that you can interact on them. But a lot of them, you're probably aware of this already, but you can waste a lot of time. You can spend a lot of money for using things like Facebook ads if not done properly, and probably find that quite often you don't generate the results that you like. So the idea today is to just highlight a couple of ways that don't work and then go through some ways that do work and ways that you can actually be more effective. So I'll put a couple of examples here based on my experience. And one thing I want to explain is every time I come here, I talk about my coaching and mentoring around marketing, but I don't talk about the fact that I actually run a marketing agency in the background and have done for just over 10 years. And I've done a lot of stuff with social media with clients, from Facebook ads through to just posting stuff on Twitter. And these are some examples of ways that people think might work, but actually don't. The first one is there was a few changes about 5 years ago with Facebook as to the way they operate. But if you've got, say, 500 fans on your Facebook business page, Facebook restricts how many of your fans can actually see your posts. So if you're posting twice a day or every single day, 7 days a week, you might get 10 or 20 people that might see one post and a couple the next, but typically it's sort of 4, 5 to 10 people will see that post. And those people who are seeing the posts are potentially existing clients, and that's great because you're reinforcing the brand and you're still communicating with them, but you're not out there finding new customers. And like networking groups, you may have liked someone else's page and they've liked yours and you're helping each other out. But again, you're helping each other out, but you're not actually a brand new customer, that person that's liked your page. So you've got existing clients, friends and work colleagues that are seeing those posts. And again, I'm not saying don't post on social media, but just posting regularly on Facebook page isn't the best of ways to go out there and get brand new customers. And the second one, I've had some dodgy results with Facebook. I've had some great results with Facebook. I'll give an example. I've had one where we spent £50 and we got a £7,000 order as a result of using Facebook ads. But one issue I do see that many people do is when they do Facebook ads targeting, and I don't know how many of you here have used Facebook ads, they target based on interests. So with Facebook, you can target based on the job roles, their status, are they married, single, have kids, etc. But you can also target based on interests. And I don't think that's the right way to do it in many circumstances. So I'll give you an example. I manage a Facebook page for a charity locally that I support. And I keep getting Facebook ads that say, here's how to get more donations for your charity. I don't run a charity. The adverts, clearly, they're reaching me and I'm the wrong person to be targeted. But because on Facebook, I've expressed an interest in charities, and because the person is advertising is targeting people who have an interest in charities, then every Tom, Dick and Harry who has an interest in charity, and I'm guessing there's a lot of people out there, those people are seen as adverts rather than the owners of a charity or a charity organization. So that has a couple of negative impacts. First of all, obviously it's the wrong target audience, but also if I'm seeing the advert, it means potentially that a charity owner is not seeing the advert because Facebook restricts how many people based on budget and how long you advertise for. It restricts how many people will see those adverts. So advertising based on interests is probably a very ineffective way of doing it in many cases. So there's just a couple of examples how not to do it. And before I go through the top tips, a couple of other things to point out. Quite often it's less about the platform you use, and it's actually more about what you do on the platform. And what I mean by that is, for B2B, I hear a lot of people say, I use LinkedIn, I don't use Facebook because my target audience doesn't hang out there. Well, LinkedIn probably is the better platform, and LinkedIn I would in many cases recommend, but to put it into perspective, Facebook has billions of people on Facebook, and I think within a 30-mile radius of Reading, I think it's close to 1 million people that are on Facebook, because you cover Slough, Oxford, Basingstoke, and all those surrounding areas. So there's a lot of people on Facebook, and they are operations directors, they're CEOs, they're HR consultants, they're managing directors and business owners. And, you know, I'm on there, and I'm guessing most of you have a profile on Facebook as well. So they are on there, but again, posting on Facebook in general might not work. But there are Facebook groups, for example, London businesses. I can't remember the number. There's something like 60,000 members of some Facebook groups, like London Business or London Startup Businesses or Surrey Business, where there are like-minded people out there who are looking for help and support, and potentially, obviously, they're trying to sell their services as well. But your target audience could actually be on that Facebook group. And another very quick example, Twitter, it seems to be diminishing quite a bit over recent years, but it's still a great platform for interacting. It's where you can actually go on and interact with people. And I'll give you an example there again. I've been interacting with someone last week on Twitter about my new online course that I've launched. And I've agreed with them to actually do a special offer that will go out to their 12,000 subscribed members that they've got on their website, that have subscribed through their website. So I probably wouldn't have been able to do it on Facebook. I might have been able to do it on LinkedIn, but you have to then accept the connection and then do the messaging, and it has an extra added layer. So the point I'm making here is, don't dismiss some of these platforms. It's more about what you do and the way you go about it. And with that in mind, here are some quick tips to consider. And I'm not saying you have to do these. These are just kind of stuff for you to reflect on, think about how you do your social media interacting or your prospecting on social media. The first one is to use hashtags and mention people, and especially in LinkedIn. I've seen posts that I've done where they're just a general broadcast. They maybe get 50 to 100 people see my LinkedIn post. But then when I start mentioning people and saying, what do you think of this? Or what are your thoughts? And then tagging in people and interacting with them. I've seen over 1,000 people see an individual post as a result of that. So mentioning people, I'm not going to go into the algorithms here, but in terms of LinkedIn, the way it works is that if I mention James, for example, in a LinkedIn post, then anyone who's connected to James is more likely to see that, to say, James has been mentioned in a post, or James has liked a post. So you actually reach out to a wider audience as a result of doing that. Hashtags is always a funny thing, and a lot of people struggle with how to use it. And I think if you use hashtags such as business growth or hashtag B2B, people don't really use those hashtags for search. They tend to search for things like hashtag local things, such as hashtag Hampshire or hashtag Surrey, or around a specific topical discussion point that's going on. But using hashtags just allows you to reach more people than who you're already connected to. The second part, focus on building quality connections. I think, again, I don't want to sound like I'm saying don't post on social media, but posting on social media doesn't find you new clients. What gets you new clients and helps you to build relationships is actually connecting with people and going outside of that comfort zone of your existing fans and your existing connections. So if you've got 1,000 connections on LinkedIn or 1,000 fans on your Facebook page, your posts are more than most likely only ever going to reach those people plus a little bit more. Whereas if you actually go out and find, let's say, for example, if you're targeting HR directors, then go out on LinkedIn, and if you go and connect with those HR directors, you're more likely to be seen by the right people and be able to interact and build those relationships. There's always a funny level when you talk to different people. Some people are very much, I'd like to sell to someone straight away, which obviously I don't advise. And some people say, I don't want to ask for the order. I just want to build the connection and leave it at that. My top advice here is don't be afraid to go and take the connection to the next level. I see many people that go and add connections on LinkedIn, but don't do anything with those connections. It's nice to connect with someone, but when you've got 2,000 connections, you quite often won't realize actually who you're connected with and why you've connected and why you did it in the first place. So if you're going to connect with someone or follow someone, it's worth just having that chat with them, even if it's just on a higher level, to say, how are things, what's going on, kind of thing, how's your business, and just build that relationship up. Don't just connect with someone and then leave it and move on, because it's effectively time wasted.
And just a time check, 10 minutes up.
Okay, all right, I'm nearly finished anyway. The last one, integrate social media with all areas. If you're going to an exhibition, if you're going to a networking event, use, for example, LinkedIn to connect with that person and take it offline, or say offline, it's online, but take it away from where you originally met with them, and build the relationship further, do the prospecting and work that relationship. And then finally, be consistent and use social media regularly. I've seen people do 3 months blasts of LinkedIn, lots of activity, got nothing out of it, and stopped. And James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, he says that habits don't add up, they compound. And for me, it's the same with social media. If you do a little bit of stuff daily, if you build 5 connections every day and you work those relationships every day, it compounds up and it gets bigger and bigger. But so you've got a big audience of people that know you and trust you and like you. So do it consistently. So that's my whirlwind tour of social media tips. I could talk for literally days on social media and different ways to do things, but I think that's it. Does anybody have any questions? Stunned silence.
Alex.
Feel exhausted.
Yeah, great, good one, Darren. It's brilliant with that side. I mean, social media is, exactly. You can so easily get into doing things which are wrong for what you're doing. And I think, like you're saying, focus and the consistency is really, really valuable as well. And it's social media is the way I see it, is more of an inroad, kind of to fill the top of your funnel up and create those relationships and get them interested, and to develop that awareness, I suppose, and then bring them in and lead them all the way through the buyer's journey, take them from. But one of the key things as well is it's a great opportunity to kind of establish, by connecting with those people, to connect with them and actually establish what they do, what their role is, or are they just on the platform to sell? So many times I've been on there, and as soon as you connect with someone, bam, you're getting this email from a message on LinkedIn from them saying, "Oh, I can sell you this," and I'm kind of, well, take a step back. Let's just have a conflab, as it were.
Yeah, just one point on that, actually, I didn't mention it. I think, John, you probably know better than me, but I think typically it's 5 to 7 touch points is recognised as how many times you establish contact and build a relationship before somebody orders. And social media is just another way to do that. So if you had a chat in a networking event with somebody who might be interested in talking to you further, then connecting on LinkedIn, having a Zoom call afterwards, it all just adds up to those contact points to build a relationship. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think actually on that point, it's at least 7. In some industries, it's actually 15, 16. So I'd say in terms of, people often get concerned, I find, with making this idea of continued outbound contact and how to do it. I would say that if you have some level of relationship with them, do it in effect with permission, and there's ways of actually creating the permission, even if they're not really responding, which can be a very positive thing, how they perceive your genuineness about what you're doing, because you're not trying to sell to them, clearly, you're just trying to connect and talk and engage in those things. So there are things you can do, and I say it's always with permission, and there's ways of positioning your next contact point with them such that it doesn't necessarily come across as this awkward moment. If you just randomly, in effect, reach out to someone, they might think you're being a bit pushy, salesy, or outside of what they would acknowledge to be in that relationship.
Yeah.